did you come up with for Martin repaired the door with a hammer and the wind broke the window? What can you say about this?
The second one, it's the role is instrument.
The wind?
No, the hammer.
Ah, okay, right. The hammer is an instrument, right? So it is similar to Turner opened the tin with a knife, right? The knife is used, right, to perform the action, right? It's something that you need to perform the action. There is a similarity here, right, between that and the wind broke the window. The door, sorry, I insist with the window. The wind broke the door, yeah? I think it is because wind and window. And there is a similarity, but there is also a difference, right? The hammer needs an agent, right, to perform it, to use it, yeah? But then the wind just happens, right?
Yes, it's something that you can't control.
Exactly, but at the same time, it is actually braking, it's doing the braking. Can we say that the wind is an agent?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
What's the characteristic of an agent? We said, like, I pour water to drink.
Because it doesn't do it intentionally.
All right.
It's
The
happened.
wind has no volition, right? The wind has no volition. So it does perform an action, right? But it is not intentional. All right. So in these cases, we are going to talk about an instrument where there is someone, right, actually manipulating the object, right? Or force, right? When there is a force, there is there is an action being performed, but it is unintentional, right? Unintentional in the sense that it is a means, right? It is the medium, right? It is the reason why the door broke, yeah? So the definition would be the means by which an action is performed or something comes about. Something comes about means something happens, right? The means by which something happens. So the door broke, right? And the reason why the door broke is because there was wind. The wind did it, yeah? This happened because of the wind, yeah? And what happens with in the box or under the bed, right? What is that? What kind of information do you need after that?
It's a location.
Information about location, right? Very good, yeah? So here, right, we're going to have information about the place in which something is situated or happens or takes place, right? Where, the where of the thing. How about travel to or lent to? What about
We need
that?
the destination.
All right, it's a destination, right? Or more metaphorically, we can say a goal, yeah? Or a recipient, somebody that receives, right? When you say, I lent my car to my neighbor, right? The neighbor receives the object, right? In a way, right? We can say also that it's a beneficiary, but that's a different discussion, yeah? Oh, I'm sorry. Something happened there. The definition is the entity toward something moves, right? The direction in which something moves, right? Which can be literal or metaphorical, right? When I say I traveled to the seaside, right? That is the direction I'm going, yeah? And that is literal, right? But when I say I lent the car to my neighbor, the car is going in the direction of the neighbor, but metaphorically, yeah? The reverse is true with borrow or come from, where things are doing this movement, right, towards the speaker, right? So the definition for this, right, would be the entity from which something moves, right? Which is the source, right? So if I say, I come from Egypt, right? The action originates in Egypt, right? So this is the direction, the place where I started, right? Where I say, if I say I borrowed a bike from my neighbor in return from the car, right? I borrowed from my neighbor. My neighbor is the source where the bike comes from, all right? Okay, and finally we have I like chocolate, where what kind of role does I have? What is that role? If I say I like chocolate.
Experiencer.
It's an experiencer, very good, right? It is not in control of the action, but it is aware of this perception, right? But it cannot initiate it, right? It's not in control, you cannot initiate it. How about chocolate? What is that?
It's a theme.
Is it moving? Is chocolate moving?
No.
It's not, right? All right. But it is, in a way, what made me have this experience, right? I am an experiencer and I am experiencing enjoyment, right, for this, right? Or on the contrary, right, if I say the noise scared me, which is the experiencer here?
Me?
Me is experiencer, very good, right? And the noise is what caused this experience, right? And we call this, sorry, I don't know where, stimulus. Yes, this is what made me enjoy or what made me scared, right? It is, we call it the entity causing an effect in the experiencer. So these two go together. Yeah, experiencer and stimulus go together. If you have an experiencer, you're going to have a stimulus. Yeah. If you have an instrument, you're going to have an agent. Yeah. If you have a force, you're going to have a patient. Yeah. You see, so there is a connection, right, between the theta roles. Yeah. So far, so good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what happens with this? I'm going to say this, and then we have a break. Yeah. What happens with this is that with the roles, we determine the requirements of a verb from the syntactic point of view, and we say that give is a three-argument verb or ditransitive verb, right? Because somebody gives something to somebody else, right? We can also say that give, right, requires an agent, yeah, that is capable of initiating the action, a theme, that is an entity that moves, right? And a recipient or a goal, which is that part of this equation that gets the theme, right? So in Turner gave the tin to Sarah. Turner is the agent, the theme is the tin, and Sarah is the recipient, right? Where the tin ends up, in a way, right? The same will hold true if we reverse the order, right? If we say, and we use passive voice, Sarah was given the tin by Turner, we will have exactly the same theta roles. Sarah is going to be the recipient, the tin is going to be the theme, and then Turner, in another part of the sentence, is going to be the agent. Why? Because Turner gave the tin to Sarah, and Sarah was given the tin by Turner, right? Are paraphrases. the meaning of these two sentences is the same. So the theta roles are exactly the same, right? The same holds true for the third version of this sentence, which is the tin was given to Sarah by Turner. Yeah, a third version of the same sentence where the different entities in the sentence will keep the same role, right? So the tin, which is the theme, is now the subject, and the recipient is somewhere else, right, in the sentence, and by Turner is the agent, yeah? So in paraphrases, the semantics will stay the same. The message will stay the same. Is this clear?
Yes.
All right. So in the same way that we can have ungrammatical sentences, right, we can have unacceptable messages, right? If the verb give requires an agent, a theme, and a recipient, and this does not appear in the sentence because instead of an agent capable of initiating the action, right, with intention, we have the door gave the tin to Sarah, right? This is unacceptable because the verb give requires a subject that is capable of initiating the action, right? The same happens if we don't have a recipient, right? And we have Turner gave the tin to Wednesday. Unless Wednesday is somebody's name, right? Then this is also unacceptable, yeah? Because that last role is not fulfilled by an entity that is a recipient, right? I know it's a name. It's a very famous character from what's the name of the, well, never
Los
mind.
Locos Adams. Los Locos Adams.
Ah, yeah. The Addams Family. All right. Okay, so when discussing verbs, right, we will have these two dimensions. The syntactic dimension when we identify the number of arguments that the verb requires, and the semantic dimension where we will identify the quality of these requirements that the verb selects, right? That the verb assigns, right? So the verb give is going to require a subject, and that subject has to be an agent. It cannot be anything else. It has to be an agent, right? An agent meaning capable of initiating the action, right? The verb give requires a direct object. That direct object will have to be a theme, right? Capable of being moved, right? So, for example, I cannot say Turner gave Buenos Aires to Sarah. Can you move Buenos Aires from where Turner is to where Sarah is? It's impossible, right? Mm-hmm. So again, right, this is not an acceptable sentence. Anna.
Yes, sorry, I'm just kind of struggling. May you repeat again that discussing verbs we have two dimensions, semantics, and I got that part, but you said syntax.
And then there is the syntactic dimension is the requirements. It's a three-place verb. Somebody gives something to somebody else, right? Or it's a two-place verb, or it's a one-place verb. Yeah.
It's semantic, right?
It's syntax. That's
syntax. Sorry.
That's syntax, where you say we need a subject, a direct object, a locative complement.
Yes.
That's syntax.
Okay.
Yeah. But or something else. And when together with that, we have the semantic dimension, right?
Yes.
Where these requirements will have a specific quality. Yeah, and the verb give will require a subject that is capable of performing the action. Yeah, it will require a theme that is capable of moving from one place to another. It will require a recipient, right, capable of accepting that theme, right, and receiving that theme. Yeah?
Yeah.
And these two dimensions work together to make acceptable grammatical messages.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. We're going to deal with this later. Take a 15-minute break. So this is a worksheet or a handout, right, where you will be able to work with theta roles, right, identifying the assignment by the verb, right? So you have Phil tattooed his friend Tina, right? And the underlined arguments, right? Notice that we are discussing once again arguments, right? Requirements of the verb, right? From a different perspective once more, right? Which is the semantic perspective, right? So which is the role that tattoo assigns to Phil, right? And which is the role that tattoo assigns to his friend Tina, yeah? This is what you need to discuss, right? Have you got it?
Yes.
Did you get the file? Okay, great.
Yes.
So it would be ideal, actually, if you could get together with others to try to work on this collaboratively, right? Because working on your own leaves you with all your doubts and it's difficult to explore your ideas, right, if you don't have an interlocutor, right? There is 48 of you. Maybe it would be great if you found another means. I mean, ideally, we would be using Zoom where I can break the rooms, you know, and you can work on separate spaces, right? But you know, this it's going back and forth is a little inconvenient. Maybe you have other ways of creating a group. I don't know if you have subgroups on people you know that you can work with, or do you want me to open a Zoom meeting and break the rooms? What do you want me to do? You want to go to Zoom and I break the rooms there so that you can work in groups?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, let me do that, okay? In the meantime, download the material. Did you find comfort in doing this with others?
Case, I think it was pretty easy in most cases, but most of the time when that happens is because I did it wrong. But anyways.
Okay, we'll see about this, all right? Okay, so what happened with the first sentence? Who would like to take that?
I can do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Phil tattooed his friend Tina. And
yes.
In this case, I think that Phil is the agent and his friend Tina is a patient.
Okay, so what you're saying is that tattoo, the theta grid for tattoo is agent plus, you said?
Patient.
Patient. Okay, do you all agree with this?
Yes.
Okay, can you justify it?
Mercedes, we discussed with Francisco, sorry,
yeah.
Because I put the Tina as a theme, but I realized that it's wrong.
Okay, what made you change your mind?
Because Phil is the agent to do the new Tina is the one who received the new tattoo.
All right. So, sorry. You're explaining. Sorry. Excuse me.
Don't worry. Do you need water?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Well, please.
They have some words. Right. So you're explaining the situation like a narrative, right? So Phil made a tattoo on his friend Tina, and Tina received this new tattoo. This is a narrative, right? Which is okay. It explains what happened, right? What we need to do is find the technical terms, right? The linguistic terms to explain these decisions. You said, now we understand this is a patient. Okay, what are the characteristics of a patient that we saw in the presentation that I made before and that you should have read from the bibliography?
In my case, I think that what we were discussing is that Tina has been modified by the action, which is tattoo.
Right.
And now she's different. Now she has a new tattoo.
Okay,
it has
so
been
she has.
modified.
All right, good. Martina, what do you want to say?
Wait, I can you? Yes, I have the same question because Tina has been changed, like her skin has been changed, but also is a beneficiary of the new tattoo. Now she has a new tattoo.
All right.
My question is, which kind of? Sorry, continue, please.
How you make this decision, right?
Yeah, my question is, whenever I have to, for example, choose the role, what aspect do I have to take into account? Because as my partner was saying, it can be either a patient. I had those two options: a patient or a beneficiary.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Which criteria should I have?
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's not an interruption. It's participating, and I like that. Any ideas? People, did any other group discuss the possibility of Tina being a beneficiary?
Yes, we did.
Yes. Okay, excellent. And
we weren't sure about that. Maybe it can be a possibility, but I think that the difference between this sentence and the sentence you gave us as an example of the beneficiary, sorry, I can't say it too well.
Beneficiary, yeah.
Beneficiary is that there was the preposition for in the example. That's the only thing that changed, but I don't know if that is a thing to be taken account.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now in this particular case, right, what we need to try to decide is what is the aspect of this action that stands out the most. First of all, we don't know if Tina is happy about this. Right? So you would be a beneficiary if this is a benefit for you, right? If this is actually something that has changed you positively, and we don't know that, right? We have no idea if this is the case, yeah? I don't know if you're familiar with this, but people, and I'm touching this because this is where my father had his radio therapy, right? When people have cancer, they get tattoos so that they know where they have to hit them with the radio therapy, right? So that's not, it's a benefit to get the treatment, right? But the tattoo is not a positive thing, right? And so if we have to decide which of these aspects, the aspects of the tattoo stand out the most, right? Well, is it the change or the benefit, right? Which of these elements is more evident, right? Melanie.
Yes, I understand that, but also it's like I don't know if the daughter was happy about the cake. I mean, some people don't like cake.
Never mind, but the intention of the action was directed to her, whether she liked it or not, right? The cake was made for her, right? And it was in that direction that it happened. Yeah. So we have, in that case, an agent, a patient, and a beneficiary. Yeah. Notice this distinction, right? We have the agent, the patient, and the beneficiary, right? And in this case, we need to decide if the tattooing, right? What aspect of the tattooing stands out the most, right? The fact that this entity was changed, or the fact that this entity was benefited.
Okay. Yes.
You see the difference?
Yes, I see the difference, but I think a tattoo is a good thing, maybe, because if you get a tattoo,
okay, it's a good thing for you, but you don't know about Tina. It has, but you don't know if it is a benefit, but you definitely don't know that she's different.
Okay. Yes.
Right, Martina?
Yes. So, in order whenever we have these doubts, we have to take into account which aspects stands out the most in order to decide.
All right, and I will do you one better. Whenever you have a conflict like this, you voice it, right? If in the exam, right, you have a sentence and you go, oh my goodness, is this a patient or a beneficiary? Well, you write them down, right? So on the one hand, I think that his friend Tina may be a patient because now after the tattoo, the entity is different, has been changed. On the other hand, it could be a beneficiary, right? Because she benefited from the action of the tattoo. And you say it, right? Because one of the wonderful things about language, right, is that many times there is no correct answer. And when it comes to semantics, what is more interesting is the exercise of thinking about this than getting the right answer.
Okay.
Okay? So whenever you have a conflict like this, you write it down, you say it, you express it, we talk about it.
Okay, just in case we put the two options.
You can write the two options and justify both.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
I have a JS here with the mic open. I don't know if you want to say something. I don't know who JS is. All right. Who can take the second one?
May I?
Yeah.
Okay. Me? Okay.
Mariano.
Tina is the agent. For me, is the agent.
Okay.
And some pretzels. Patient. I put that, but I don't know
Okay.
if
Do
it's
you agree,
correct.
people here? Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Right. This is a clear case. We use the verb bake. Yeah. In our examples. Yeah. What happens with here? Who wants to say that to take that one?
Can I?
May I?
Yes. Wait, Patricia.
Okay. The vampire is the experiencer y a substance stimulus.
A stimulus. Do you agree, people?
Yes.
Very good. Can you justify this? We didn't do this in the previous one because it was kind of self-evident, but can you justify this one? Why is vampire an experiencer?
because of the verb. It's heard. It's not.
Okay. Explain in linguistic terms.
It's not a
Here,
verb of the action.
here selects an experiencer. What is the characteristic of an experiencer as opposed to an agent?
He can't no control the action.
All right, right? The experiencer has no control over the action, right? But
Just experience that. Just experience
the
the.
experience of the action, it is, we say it's aware of the action, right? So the experiencer knows that this is happening. Yeah? What is the
Okay.
stimulus?
Because it is causing an effect in the experiencer.
Very good, right? It is the stimulus is creating the experience. All right? The stimulus is creating the experience. Great. How about the next one with send?
May I?
Yes, Diana.
Here we have a question with Francisco because we agreed that grandmother is the agent, a postcard is the theme, but we didn't agree, or we aren't sure about her grandson if a recipient.
Okay. Or
the
Or a
other,
beneficiary.
or a beneficiary. Okay.
yeah.
Again, we have this conflict here. Martina, pay attention, right? So what do?
We take into account that if it is a good, we aren't sure about that.
Okay. You are not sure if it is positive,
Yeah.
but are you sure that that's the direction the postcard was going?
Yeah.
All right.
So it is a recipient.
Okay. On the other hand, right, you could also provide, right, both explanations, right? So you could say, on the one hand, this could be a recipient because that's the direction in which the theme was going, yeah, or yes, was going or went, yeah. But additionally, we can say that this is a beneficiary because the action of sending is in the benefit, right, of this entity, right, the grandson. Okay.
Sorry, Merce.
One second.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the same to say recipient or goal, or
yes.
there is
Typically, recipients are volitive entities that are alive.
Okay.
Yeah, recipients that can receive, right? And goals are more places, right? Or entities that are not. Yeah, when you say I put the books on the table, right? That's a location, but it's also where it landed. Or the plane landed at the airport, right? Well, the airport is the goal, yeah, not a recipient. The airport is not, come plane, come to me. All right.
Thank you.
I'm making this a ridiculous thing because to help you remember, right?
Sorry,
Okay.
Marce.
Yes.
It could be also experiencer. I mean, because he
Grandson.
received something that he didn't want, maybe. Not didn't want,
Okay.
but
All right. Okay. Are you here?
yes.
Yes.
Some of you are here. Can you call the rest?
Mercedes, can we say that?
Okay. Well, I missed the notes that I was making, right? But
Mercedes.
All right. I'm going to wait a little bit in case somebody. Is the person who asked the question here? I think it was Melanie. Are
Yes.
you here?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you're here, right? Melanie?
Yes, I'm here.
I can't hear you for some reason. Well, never mind. Okay, you asked if, wait a minute, Lau. For some reason, Patricia, I cannot hear you either. Well, can you hear me? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay, great, fantastic, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to answer your question, and we'll leave the rest for some other time. Well, actually, next Friday, next Wednesday. Sorry. Theta roles. So Melanie asked me if her grandson could be an experiencer, right? And the issue here, right, is that what's happening is not an experience, all right? So a noise is an experience, a feeling is an experience, a pain is an experience, right? Loving, liking is an experience, thinking is an experience, but a postcard is not an experience, right? It's an object, okay? So, well, mental state, I don't know. If you love something, is that, I don't know, if that a mental state? If you hear something, is that a mental state? Not necessarily. But when you experience, when you're an experiencer, right, something happens, yeah? And you're not in control of that. And it's true that if you're a beneficiary, you're not in control, right? Or a recipient, sorry, if you're a beneficiary or a recipient, you are not in control, you are passive, right? But you're not experiencing something in the same way that when you hear a sound, right? Alan, I know your hand is up. I don't know if I'm going to hear you, okay? So could you write your question in the chat? Okay. While Alan writes his question in the chat box, right? Well, the point of having the other version of the first sentence, the grandmother sent her grandson a postcard, right, is to illustrate, okay, give me a second, Alan, is to illustrate that wherever the entities are in a sentence with the same verb, right? The roles are going to be the same, only that in a different position, right? So the grandmother will remain the agent, the grandson, the recipient, and the postcard, the theme, right? So this doesn't change. The position of the constituents, syntactically speaking, has changed, but semantically speaking, the roles that the theta grid has are the same, all right? Okay, and Sarah opened the bottle with a screwdriver. There are no two possible interpretations. Okay, so what I want you to do, I was saying, is I'd like you to, I'm sorry, my daughter is across the street with her math teacher, right? So she's crossing the street, and I was a little worried. Okay, so here's the thing. I'd like you to go back to the first list of sentences that I gave you, which are, the file is called Syntactic Practice 0 from April. Yeah? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Where you have Wellington was a poodle. It had curly black fur. I stroked Wellington, right? I put my hand on the muzzle of the dog. That one. All right. So I want you to select some. Of course, if you have, if you don't have actions, right? If you don't have action verbs, yeah, it's going to be a little more challenging. Don't work with the sentences with the verb to be, right? Because you cannot do that with the verb to be, yeah. And try to identify theta roles in these sentences, okay? Let's say the first 10 sentences, yeah? And we're going to discuss those next week. Alan asked me about the bibliography for our subject, right? And it is my understanding that you have access to that in the campus, right? I know that you can only see JJ's whatever, right? Because yeah, I'm going to send the Google form in a minute. Give me 1 second. Okay, you cannot see our room, right? Because actually the room does not exist yet, right? The room for this Wednesday course, I don't know why, right? But you do have access to the bibliography. Yeah, it says grammar 2023, but there is little change, okay? So if you have a look, give me a second. My daughter is home. Okay. No. Not now. Go to the toilet first. Okay, she wants to say hi. So if you go to this this page in the campus, right? You do have access to the bibliography, right? What you have to use as a reference, right, for the bibliography is the class by class schedule. Right? So you go to the class by class schedule, right? And here you have the bibliography. Okay? It's there. You do have access to this, don't you?
Yes, I'm checking.
Well, my question was, in the class by class, all the bibliography in each class is in, I can't read.
Sorry, may I say something?
See, it is. We have in a computer schedule, but not always are the same text. For today, for example, we have to read. Never found that for. Yeah. Okay. All right. Give me a few days to revise that, to check that, and I will make sure that the bibliography you access is the one that you need, right? Yes, Martina, the 2025 class by class schedule is the one that you have to go by, right? Because that's the one that is updated, okay? So, what I wanted to say is this. I have here the link for attendance, and then you can be on your way.